Hey, ever feel stuck and wonder why some people achieve greatness while others remain average? Join me, Mark Jean, and Beyond Average to Great as we uncover the secrets to breaking free from mediocrity and unlock the greatness within you. Through inspiring stories and insights from people who have changed their lives, you'll learn how strong decisions and bold actions can take you to the next level. Let's go. Hey, welcome to another episode of Beyond Average to Great. Our guest today is Sean Abbanatto. Sean is a pastor, a coach, entrepreneur, and a keynote speaker specializing in mindset and leadership. And since 1998, he has empowered organizations and individuals to embrace strategic, solution-oriented leadership. His work inspires others to develop solid strategies for life and business. Sean, thanks for being here, man.
Brother, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited for you with this new venture. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm excited too, just because learning to ask better questions,
Yeah,
because that's the only way to learn and to get answers to help you with if you're developing a business, starting a business, or growing a business, is learn to ask great questions. So this is part of that journey for me, is being able to talk to people like you that's experienced their success in their life and
yeah,
how you share that with others. And so I'm excited to learn from you and to have a conversation.
absolutely. Like I said, man, I'm excited to be here with you and just to share with your listeners and just talk about life and how we go from average to great.
Yep.
It's a powerful journey that we're all on. And so, yeah, man, I'm super excited.
So tell me a little more of your background. I mean, we've had a few conversations, but tell me a little bit more about, I know you spent time in LA, so tell me what brought you to LA and then how you're back where you're at right now in
Yeah,
Oklahoma.
absolutely. So I'll try to, do the short version. This could be a mini series, right? So I was born and raised in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, right in the smack dab middle of the country. And since I was a little guy, I always knew I wanted to help people. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. So
Mm,
my father was a firefighter, and I followed in his footsteps, and I did that for 5 years. But on the side, I was doing print work, commercial work, TV work here in Oklahoma. So working in a very small market. I saw an opportunity to pursue that full time, and I thought, well, I could care less about being famous, but if I could have a successful career, it would give me more resources, more connections, more
mm,
money to just help more people. And so that
mm,
was my entire goal for going into the entertainment world. And so I left here and went to New York. I was there 3 years and then moved to Los Angeles, and I was there almost 11 years. It was during that time that I really discovered where acting and all that was fun. I just really didn't feel like that was the fit for me.
mm,
And so I had found myself at a place where I didn't have a lot of hope, didn't have a lot of passion for my life. I had all the things the world tells you that makes you successful. I
mm,
mean, I had a good job. I was making money, pretty girlfriend, nice car, nice clothes, all the stuff. But like I
mm.
like to say, the bling bling is not the thing.
Yeah.
And so I found myself, believe it or not, sitting in a country bar. The fact that I found the country bar in California was funny to me, being from
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But I was just sitting there one night watching several hundred people dance and have fun, and I was drinking a beer and I was just miserable. And as I sat there, I just said, God, I've tried everything else and nothing has made me happy. Nothing has given me a life that's fulfilling. So I'm going to try you again. And so
Mm,
I got back in church, rededicated my life, and I started this journey of healing, this journey of revealing, this journey of discovery. And it was during that season where a little woman, probably in her mid 70s, that I had never seen before in church, walked up to me and said, "Excuse me, young man, you're trying to figure out what to do with your life." And I went, "Wow, yeah, as a matter of fact, I am." And then, Mark, without missing a beat, she said, "You got a big mouth. You ever thought about speaking?" And so I, I had the same reaction you just did. I laughed because I didn't expect this sweet little grandma to say that to me. And
Yeah.
I said, "No, ma'am, but maybe I should." And she said, "Yep." And she turned around and shuffled off. I never saw her again. I had never seen her before that moment, but I could not shake her words. And so that started a secondary journey for me where I transitioned in careers. started speaking and preaching. And that was in 1998. And here we are, 26, 27 years later, whatever it is now.
Wow. So that was a pivotal moment for you, uh, just finding and discovering. How would you, for someone else that's searching for what they're supposed to do in life, or maybe they're at a crossroads, what would you suggest to them? Because I'm sure they're not going to find some little old lady come up to them and tell them what to do.
Right. Right. I think I think God sent her to me because I'm stubborn, and I'm kind of like I need someone to hit me with a 2x4 upside the head and say, "Listen." But I think for someone that may find themselves in that season, there's always times where we do work, but it's not our calling.
Yeah.
There's times we're going to have a job, but it's not our calling, and so there are seasons, right? We just have to to get the bills paid and do those things. But I always encourage people to continue to ask themselves, what are you passionate about? Is there anything in life that you would do and just do it for free every day and never, ever, ever get tired of it? What you and I are doing right now, just sitting back and talking about life, I could do that all day, every day. And I never get tired of this because that's what God put inside of me when He created me. I
Yeah.
believe He puts greatness inside of all of us. What we run into is whether or not we're willing to embrace the process of growing into that greatness. And that takes embracing His process, which I call the diamond mentality,
Mhm.
something He revealed to me back in the 90s. He took me to a library when I didn't want to go. I was studying at home. He said, "Go to the library." I'm like, "Why would I go to a library? I didn't like them when I was in school. Now you're sending me to the
Yeah.
library." But he said, "I want you to go to the library and find some books on diamonds." And I thought, this is the silliest thing ever. But I did, and I sat down at the table and I started to read them. And what I saw was a parallel with our walk with Him, this parallel of how we go through a process of
Mhm.
refining and purifying and growing and getting more solid in our lives. So when you look at the three elements that it takes to make a diamond, you have heat, pressure, and a whole lot of time. And when you start that relationship with God, and He says, "Okay, you believe in me now, so let's get to work. Let's grow you into that life that I created you to have." He starts bringing that refining, purifying heat. Then it comes the pressure that takes the shaky out of our lives and makes it
Mhm.
more solid. And then time, right? Just that time. Time qualifies us because the more we stick with it, the more we're committed, the more consistent we become. So for me, I would just encourage people, what are you passionate about? Just continue to go back to that, circle back to that. And I believe that's where you'll find just that dream, that passion, that vision that God's put inside of you for
Mhm.
whatever that is. And I tell you, I don't care what it is. You could work at a Wendy's drive-through and just go, you know what? I'm going to touch every single person that comes through my drive-through. I'm going to make sure they're having the best day ever
Mhm.
because I run into people like that. And I
Mhm.
love it because they're living life with passion and they don't look at their circumstance. They look at it as their opportunity. So if we'll continue just to look at what fires me up about life, right? What can I be doing every day that I wouldn't need an alarm clock, right? I would
Yeah.
just wake up. But you know
Yeah.
what amazes me about back in the day is, we used to have an alarm clock sitting by our bed,
Uh-huh.
right? And the manufacturers of that alarm clock knew that 95% of people don't wake up full of passion and vision.
Mm.
How do I know this to be true? Because the off button was real little and the snooze button was real big.
Yeah.
They know what people are going to reach for. And nowadays, we got these cell phones, right? Same thing. The alarm goes off, the off button is smaller, the snooze button is prominent because they know people aren't waking up excited about life. So, what excites you about life? That I believe will lead you on a journey of discovery to what your calling is and what your gifting is. And then you can step into that and start to slowly become an expert at it.
That's really good. That's really good. One of the things that I notice, because you talked about taking time to reflect and look and ask yourself questions. Man, we live in a world with so many distractions. How do you kind of put those distractions at bay to take time to just reflect and, take inventory or do an audit of yourself, just like you get
Yeah.
your books audited, um, business or for accounting purposes, how do you do that? What helps clear those distractions out of the way?
Man, what a great question. You know, in the history of mankind, I believe we've never been busier than we are right now. I was just sharing with someone at a conference this last week in Vegas, and what I was sharing with the people there is that when I was a kid, when midnight hit the clock, my TV would cut off, and there was nothing but static. Right?
Yeah.
They'd play the anthem, and the American flag would be flying, and boom, it was just static. You had to go to bed. There wasn't all night TV.
Mhm.
So now we have TV, smartphones, all this stuff, 24/7, 365. And our brains are not designed to have that level of inflow of information consistently like that. So that's why we're seeing studies that show people are more anxious than ever, right? Because they don't know how to unplug and just get quiet and just allow moments where you can breathe. So the way that I believe we do that is we have to become very intentional with how we live life. The more intentional we become, the easier life gets. And it's just about structuring some things. And I'll give you one example. One of my favorite stats I share from the stage is that people on average spend 55 minutes a day looking for things. Think about that. 55 minutes a day, almost an hour a day, people spend looking for things. That's 7 hours a week. That's 28 hours a month. On average, people are losing over a day a month just looking for things and having to process as best they can the anxiety that that brings. So
Mhm.
just being a little bit more intentional with where we put things, where we put our keys, our wallet, our purse, our whatever, that alone gives you back 28 hours a month. How much more will that help you with getting things done or the structure of your life or growing a business or spending time with your spouse? I don't have time for date nights. Yeah, you do. I just gave you 28 hours back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you have time. So definitely being more intentional. That's one thing I've really tried to do in my life, and also just being awareness, and honestly, these are the first two laws in John Maxwell's personal growth book, the 15 laws of personal growth. And
Mhm.
I love that book. I read that book. I grabbed these two laws and applied them to my life, and I've seen over and over again the fruit of applying these to my life, because being aware, truly aware of where you've been, where you're at, and where you want to go. But we
Mhm.
have to be honest and raw and transparent. We got to be able to look in the mirror and be really honest. And what that's going to require is to remove the mask that a lot of us have been wearing for a long time. Somewhere along the way, something happened to us, someone said something to us, someone put an expectation on us, and we embraced it. We went through something, and instead of realizing it was something that we went through, we identified that with who we are, and we put on a mask. And now the mask potentially has been there for years, or for some folks that may be listening, even decades. And just like that movie, The Mask with Jim Carrey, that was out back in the day that so many of
Mhm.
us loved, the longer he wore the mask, the more difficult it was to remove it, because it was becoming more and more of who he was. And he was struggling to remember, right, his
Yeah.
identity and who he really was. And we all must go through this moment where we get real with ourselves, become more aware of where we were, where we're at, and where we want to go. And to do that, we have to say, I need to rediscover who I am, who I was created to be. Remember the little boy, the little girl in us,
Mhm.
and what excited us about life. Let that person reemerge, and really face the fear that comes with that, because we think wearing the mask brings safety,
Mhm.
but in reality it does the exact opposite. It slowly increases fear in our life the more we get away from who we are.
Yeah. One of the things that I've been learning to do is keep my calendar. That's
Mm.
my friend and coach mentor that works with me, Richard Dolan. He challenges me to track my time and keep my calendar, as far as that way you've got your day, your week, everything scheduled out. You don't have to think about what you're doing because it's already planned out. And it is so hard sometimes to do that. I can put big
Yeah.
blocks of time and just say, okay, I'm going to work from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on this, but I don't track the time in between. And he's like, no, you got to track what you're doing. If you want to know where your time goes, you need to track it. And he says that he had told me that LeBron James, because he has worked with LeBron James. LeBron James says, if you can't track it, you can't crush it. And so I'm learning
Yeah,
that
that's good.
time is hard. It's not hard to do, but it takes work and discipline. But
It does work.
even starting with those blocks of time help. It's just getting granular with it. You can, but I see how that can be helpful and going, you know what? I'm going to schedule me time, and that's going to be
Yeah.
because that was one of the things, I noticed too, even when we traveled, we went to Italy a few years back. And when you
I'm
go to
jealous
get a
about that.
coffee, yeah, you can't get a coffee to go in Italy. When you go to Italy, it's like, they're like, coffee to go, what?
It's a whole experience,
Yeah,
right?
it's like,
Yeah.
like Starbucks, get a coffee to go. It's like, no, you have to sit down and enjoy your cup of coffee, so
Right.
it's more of the experience of that. So I'm trying to do that more in my life in the mornings instead of grabbing a cup of coffee. I'm like, I'm just going to sit out here on our deck and enjoy coffee for 15 minutes or so. And whether that's, time that I can now use to reflect on my day, that could
Yeah.
be a good way to do that. I liked what you said about
Yeah, I
that.
love that. I love that. We do the same thing. We sit on our back porch. We our backyard opens up into a farmer's field. Then has oh gosh, I don't know, a couple hundred yards out is a tree line and all that. So we always get wild turkey and deer and birds and all the stuff, coyote, behind our home. And being an old country boy at heart, that makes me very, very happy and gives me a lot of peace and kind of jump starts my day as we just sit back there drinking coffee and listening to, nature, just peace and quiet, God's creation. And,
Yeah.
when you talk about blocking time, it's so good. And what I thought I was doing well with blocking time when I would set aside an hour or 2 hours or 4 hours and I would focus on a task because multitasking does not work. It's been
Yeah.
scientifically proven that it actually lowers productivity.
Mhm.
But one of my mentors is John Maxwell, and getting to spend a little bit of time around him when I joined and became a member of his team back in 2013, he said something that I never forgot because he took the whole blocking time to a whole nother level. He schedules out his day in 15-minute increments.
Wow.
He breaks it down to 15-minute increments because he said very few meetings need to go longer than 15 minutes. And I thought that was so powerful. If you have it, if you're intentional and you're structured and you know what the agenda is, you should be able to knock out most meetings within 15 minutes. Maybe it's 30 minutes, but he's going to break that down into that small of an increment. And if he has to, put two or three or four of those together, he can. But he said that allowed him to take his productivity to the whole nother level. And another person that I learned from, just one statement that was said was Steve Jobs when
Mhm.
he said, "Look, I work the same thing every day because it's one less choice I have to make."
Yeah.
And it's just amazing when you become that level of intentional, you can just really simplify life and some of the things that are distracting.
Mhm.
Because I like to say it this way, you can be distracted or devoted, and
Mm.
it's really going to boil down to your choices. Am I distracted or am I devoted to myself, my family, my career, my business? I can either be one or the other, but I can't be both.
I like that.
And
I
it
wrote
really
that.
boils down to our choices, and our choices affect our chances in life. Yesterday's choices are today's realities, and for some people, maybe they're in a great place because of that. Maybe some people a very challenging place
Mhm.
because of that. But the beautiful thing about choices is that today's choices become tomorrow's realities. So, what are we going to choose today that's going to make tomorrow better in our life, our marriage, our being parents, our businesses, or for our employees, whatever it may be? What are we going to start choosing today, right here, right now? Whether someone's watching this the first day you posted it or 3 years from now, it's going to apply. There
Yeah.
is no time limit on the truths that we're sharing today. So that's what I would encourage people to do is, like I said, when we get intentional, there's always that next level of how to tweak it and get a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more laser focused. And life seems to get a little bit more simple. I didn't say easy, I said simple.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
great question to ask yourself because even think about, the choices I make today are going to affect my tomorrow or be my tomorrow's reality. So if
Yeah.
you, if that's always in the back of your mind and always present, I wonder how different you would make decisions if that was
Oh,
something you thought
it
about.
impacts them in a very powerful way because you start to think a lot more, right? I'm thinking before I choose. I'm not just choosing, which I believe it means you're responding more to life versus reacting. You know, when we react, we're being led by emotions. When we respond, we're really being led by wisdom. We're taking time to really process and think. And you can get where that happens lightning fast, right? At the speed of light, you can now make these decisions where you're really responding from wisdom versus reacting from emotions. And
Yeah.
I will tell everyone that's listening, even as a parent, that's one of the greatest parenting tools that I ever started to use with my kids was just sharing that over and over and over. Your choices affect your chances. Hey, Dad, can I go to the football game on Friday? Well, did you get your homework done that was due Wednesday and Thursday? Oh, well, I'll get that on Saturday. No, you won't. You'll do that Friday night instead of going to the game. Why? Because your choices affect your chances, and you chose not to do
Good.
that. So now, unfortunately, your chance of doing something you want to do gets lost by not choosing to do something that you needed to do. So I love choices. I love thinking about them and just how they impact our lives. And even the smallest choices can add up to the biggest change, you know?
Uh-huh. That's a really good one, especially me being a dad of two teenage boys that
Yeah, man.
I see the choices they make, and yet as a dad, sometimes I let them do things anyway, which I know is not great. It's like as far as go out with their friends or hang out. But
Sure.
did you get your
Well, and
home?
I think on occasion that is a good thing because then what we learn and show is grace,
Yeah,
right? Because we know we've been given it
yeah.
by a heavenly Father that loves us in a way that we don't even begin to understand. So I believe it's good to show grace, right? That's not a hard line, but it
Mhm.
is a guiding principle, right? And I think that's what makes it so powerful. So it's a guiding principle, but not a hard line in the sand. So,
Yeah,
I do the same thing. And,
yeah,
but the beautiful part about it is that uh, I think that harnesses the power of love and encourages a deeper relationship with our children because they see that we love them enough to show them grace, but we also love them enough to hold them accountable.
yeah,
And that deepens our relationship.
yeah. It's when our oldest son Marcus, it's so interesting how you see yourself in your kids.
Yeah.
And with both of my boys, I mean, Marcus, I see he's kind of more of a perfectionist. And I kind of had that where I had a hard time doing things if it wasn't going to be perfect. And I'm
Right.
now it's like, everybody was an amateur at some point. LeBron James was an amateur before he became a
Mhm.
professional. So you've got to continually take steps and learn and grow and get better at your craft, at whatever you do. And
Absolutely. I mean, I love the story of Michael Jordan, and they even took that quote that he did and turned it into the commercial. I don't know if you remember or not, where he said, I've missed over 9,000 shots in my career.
oh yeah,
26 times I've been entrusted to take the game winning shot and missed.
yeah,
He talks about the reason I'm so successful is because I embrace those failures and I learn from them.
yeah,
And so if MJ, the greatest of all time, right, says that failure is the greatest learning tool, then why shouldn't we all embrace it? I mean, even the Bible says that Jesus, for those faith-based listeners that you have, even the Bible says Jesus grew in wisdom and stature. He even modeled for us that
yeah,
you grow,
yeah,
right? You don't just flip a switch and you're where you want to be. It's about embracing this process of growing into the greatness that God has placed within us.
yeah. That's a hard thing to do and be patient with, but it's a necessary thing. And
It's a hard thing in the beginning, kind of like working out. right? The first month is always the worst. It just sucks because
Yeah.
everything hurts. You're more tired than you're energized. And then you get past the threshold. Push past the threshold and you have that moment where you go, I worked out today, and during the workout I didn't get exhausted. I actually was energized. And now I feel better after. And now I'm getting the gains and I'm losing the weight and I'm getting the strength and I feel better. I'm sleeping better. I'm eating better. And all of a sudden that momentum hits and you start to look forward to it. I know that once I realized that doing life with God, not just for God, was
Mm.
the way I wanted to do it, I actually looked forward to embracing the process. I'll tell you a real quick story where years ago I was a newly rededicated Christian. I'm in my apartment in Van Nuys, California, and I'm just crying out to God, having a rough week. And I said, God, I just need some peace. I had my hands raised. I just need peace. And I got real quiet listening and nothing. So I kept praying, I need peace. I need peace. And this is what I felt God whisper to me. Sean, it will never get any easier than you have it right now.
Mm.
And that raw truth slapped me in the face like an ice cold glass of water. And I mean, I was crying at the time. I had the whole thing going on. I was crying. My nose was running. I was having one of them moments, my brother.
Uh-huh.
And it's interesting because when that truth hit me, the tears dried up, my nose dried up, and I just sat there. I was stunned by the truth into a beautiful place called the next level. And
Mm.
so I said out loud to God, okay, if that's the way this works, then you show me how to live life at the next level because it's kicking my butt right now. And
Yeah.
I jumped in the process and I started to learn. And I can't tell you how many times over the years, because that's going back now. Woo, that was back in like 1996. We're talking almost 30 years ago. How many times God has reminded me it's not going to get any easier than it is right now. Even on that day, he said to me, you don't have the wife you prayed for. You don't have the kids you've prayed for. You don't have the ministry you've prayed for. You don't have the house you've prayed for. He just started listing stuff off. He says,
Yeah.
wait till you have all that. And then you got to walk through the pressure of loving a wife and raising children and paying for a home and running a ministry or a business or your speaking career. He said, you don't have any of that yet. You're sitting in a one bedroom apartment. All you got to do is pay rent.
Yeah.
He
So,
said, just wait. Yeah.
so knowing that, because that requires commitment as far as being committed to that trust in God, being committed to the relationships that you have. What does commitment look like to you in all of that, what you just shared?
Man, great question. I think commitment for me is realizing that God created all of us to live an amazing life. Because the Bible says he created us in his image. His very DNA is inside of us. And he says that I created you to give you a future and a hope. He says, call to me and I'll answer you and show you great and mighty things which you do not know. And I think there's times that honestly, he's waiting on us, not us waiting on him. So for me, commitment is about realizing if I'm going to live the life that I was created for, that I have to choose it. It's not going to be handed to me. It's not going to be given to me because I think we so underestimate the life that God has called us to. And then when I say that, I'm not talking about, like extreme riches or whatever. I'm talking about fulfillment. I'm talking about a great marriage, having the ability to raise great kids so that generations after us are living a fulfilling life.
Mhm.
I mean, just the ability to shift the atmosphere everywhere we go and changing and touching lives when we run into people. That ability to be able to be so sensitive to the leading of the Holy Spirit that we literally can get led in a conversation with a stranger, how to give them encouraging words. A very fulfilling life.
Mhm.
So for me, it's not hard to commit to that, to choose that, because I tried life the other way
Oh
and it
yeah.
was too painful. And this is a situation where your pain becomes your purpose, your mess becomes your message. I mean, for me, it's like I tried it the other way. There is no going back, there is no other option. I'm not going to settle for less than what my heart is crying out for.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, it's work, and yeah, it's dedication, and yeah, there's days where you want to be more distracted than devoted, but you just have to keep getting back in the game. And I think one, like, as my friend would say, pro tip, one thing I learned a long time ago, which really helped me out a lot, is I quit trying to have good days. Every time I tried to have a good day, I would disappoint myself because I would always have a moment or two where I would do something wrong. Maybe I got frustrated, or I lost my temper, or I got distracted, or whatever it could be, right? So what I switched to is, instead of having a good day, I'm just going to try to have a good moment. And
Oh,
I'm going to try to stack moments, because if we do that versus trying to put a whole day in the burden of a whole day, then you can have two or three bad moments and then turn around and have a good moment and start stacking good moments again. And that way, it's very difficult to lose an entire day.
yeah.
I can't remember the last time that I would say I had a bad day. Now, I've had some really bad moments, even when, like, April 26th of 2024, this year, when I got the phone call from my son a little after 3, and I thought he was coming home from football practice, and he was calling to tell me that he had been in a wreck. He was bleeding. He was screaming, "I need you. I need you." That was a really bad moment. And
Wow.
I could have slid into a place emotionally where it turned into an entire bad day. But instead of embracing that, I got to him. He was alive. Yeah, banged up,
Hmm.
broken bone, and some different things, but he's alive. Ooh, all of a sudden now I'm having a good moment. Okay,
Yeah.
got him to the hospital. He's going to be okay. He's going to live. There's no internal bleeding. It's another good moment. So I'm
Yeah.
sitting there with him all night long, looking at my son.
Yeah.
Good moment after good moment after good moment. Now, there was moments where he's in a lot of pain and we're having a bad moment, but we kept stacking the good moments, so we never had a bad day. And so if people will try that and really focus on moments, then it's so easy to regain momentum and to not beat ourselves up so much. We're so hard on ourselves, man. And we
Mhm.
just got to give ourselves a break. But we just talk so negative to ourselves. Oh, you're so stupid. You're dumb. You shouldn't have tried that. You knew better. Okay, we made a mistake. Don't personalize it. Use it, learn from it, and fail forward
Mm.
into the next moment. We need to learn to fail forward and not stay stuck in our mistakes, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I've done. It's worked like a charm, and some moments can take the wind right out of you, but just like for those guys that ever played football and you got the wind knocked out of you, the coach ran out there and tugged on your belt a couple of times, and before you knew it, that horrible moment turned into a good one because you were breathing again, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, moment to moment, man. That's how we do this thing.
Man, that is powerful because even thinking about what happened, like Friday, I had my whole Friday planned out this past Friday, and it was going good up until a certain point, and then it just kind of fell apart. I had too many things didn't go as planned. Things started happening. I had to deal with this issue, deal with that issue, and I found myself letting it affect me. And
Mm.
I stopped and go, wait a minute. If I were coaching myself in this, what would I do? And
Mm.
I like what you said about stacking moments. I'm like, you know what? It was just, this issue took longer than, we planned for to resolve. This took, and
Yeah.
I just started being logical about what happened. It wasn't, on a fear factor, let's say, of, it was like maybe a one, but I was letting
Right.
it frustrate me
Sure.
and taking that stop, that moment, and just reflecting on that. But I really like that stacking moments because you can change your perspective really quickly that way, and it
Well,
can really
you
change your
bring up a
day.
really important word, and that's perspective. First of all, I want to ask you: are you familiar with the term catastrophize?
No.
Yeah, catastrophize is where we let a moment bleed out over the boundaries that that moment should, right? Let's say the moment's this big and we allow it to bleed out beyond where it should be encapsulated. It should be right here. I should have this moment. But we allow it to go beyond the boundaries of the moment to impact other areas of our life. So
Mm,
let's say that, something's happening and then we we catastrophize it. So we come home and then we're short with our kids, or we're short with our wife, or we're mean to the dog, or
Yeah.
whatever. So we have to be very careful about catastrophizing things, because it's not a catastrophe. It's just a bad moment.
Mm.
And, perspective. Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because that's something I really try to focus on and really teach not only my kids, but also anybody, obviously, I get a privilege to talk to or work with or speak. But we have a little thing in our family we do to kind of reset ourselves with a little humor. And that is when something's going on, and we're having a bad moment, one of us will say out loud, "Oh, yeah, hashtag first world problem," right?
Yeah.
It's like, "Hey, has anybody seen my phone charger? Oh, my tire's a little flat. I had a flat tire there, whatever." Well, you had a flat tire. That sucks. That's a horrible moment, right?
Yeah.
But if you have a car, you're wealthier than 96% of the people on the planet.
Mm.
Because when we look at it beyond, we live in America. I don't know. You may have listeners like my buddy from Australia, has them from all over the world. So, but in America, I know we get stuck. We focus on life here and as we know it. But when you look at it in the big picture, when you look at life globally, if you own a car, you are in the top 4% of the entire world.
Wow.
If you own a home, you're in the top 6%. So, I mean, people have to understand, man, it's hashtag first world problems. Oh, man, I'm stuck in traffic. All right. Yeah. Man, I was blessed to be in traffic in my car, right? Which 96% of the world doesn't even have. We talk a lot in our family about, hey, we didn't have to walk 2 miles to get water today. We
Yeah.
got to shower in hot water, not in a river where
Yeah.
we were having to look out for crocodiles. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of ways and things and facts that I use to deal with my own perspective, and sometimes lack of perspective, when it needs to be reset or shifted
Mhm.
back to really what reality is versus my perception of reality.
Mm.
So those are some really key things that I think help you win moments and stay embraced. And that diamond mentality of, man, I'm going to keep on leaning into the heat and the pressure, knowing it takes time, knowing that God is doing something in and through my life.
Yeah.
And like I like to share with people, if you're feeling a lot of heat, if you're feeling like, man, I've never felt heat like this before, I tell people all the time, get excited, because diamonds are brought to the surface through volcanic activity. So if you're feeling heat like never before, get ready, my brother, my sister, because that means God is about to bring you to the surface so that you can be discovered and shared with the world.
Wow. Now, how important are relationships in your development? Because we're a part of a group called World Shaker Society with Tim Story.
Yeah.
And I know that's just being a part of that group, being a part of some other groups that I'm part of that are business, guys that I'm involved in business. How important are relationships to your development, from stacking those moments whenever you do have a bad moment to help you realign and get back onto a good moment?
Right, man. Dude, you got all the great questions. You're good at this. So, you know what? It is, man, relationships are everything. I mean, they're really the key. There's that old saying of, show me who your closest five friends are, and I'll show you where you'll be in 2 years. And I believe that. I tell a funny story about a group of scientists that took four monkeys and stuck them in a room, and there were bananas at the top of a pole that sprayed cold water when they tried to reach the bananas, or what I call the dream. One by one, they kept getting sprayed, and they eventually gave up. And then they bring in a new monkey that's dry. He sees the bananas. He tries to go up the pole, and the other three pull him back down repeatedly until he quits trying. And they one by one replace the wet guys with new guys, and they all go through the same process where they end up in this room with four dry monkeys that never got hit with the water. Now, remember that. And they're circling the pole, looking up at these bananas, but they're not going up the pole. Here's the crazy part, dude. They don't even know why, because they never got hit with the water. But they were conditioned through relationship to others to not dream, to not go for it. I like to say we have to keep our inner circle tight and right. There
Mm.
have to be people that have earned the right to be in our inner circle. Brene Brown in her book, Daring Greatly, says, why would you ever listen to someone who's sitting in the stands? They're not even in the game with you. They haven't earned the right. So for me, relationships are everything. It's even biblical. The Bible says iron sharpens iron. You don't take iron and tissue paper and go, hey, let's sharpen each other up. The beautiful part about the diamond mentality is that diamonds can only be cut or polished by another diamond. So
Mm.
you have to look for people that are at the same level, that are committed at the level you are, that have the same desire to grow and live life that you want to. And I believe water seeks its own level. I mean, when you set a glass of water down on a table, the water's not like this; it's like this, right? It
Yeah.
levels out. And so I think that people will be drawn to each other that are living life at certain levels. Like draws to like, birds of a feather flock together. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of sayings because I believe there's truth to it. And who you spend your time with, who you allow into your life. Science has proven that people rub off on us
Hmm.
faster and quicker and easier than we believe that they can. Their mindsets, their attitudes rub off on us like crazy. It's almost as quickly as somebody that has too much perfume or cologne on. They give you a hug and then they walk away and you're like, man, now I smell like they do. It can really happen that quickly. My favorite story about this is back in 2002. I was speaking for a company called Lead America to high school students all over the country, and I would do leadership material, and they were there for career-based conferences like law and medicine and business.
Uh-huh.
And so they bring kids from all over the country. We're in Washington, D.C., and they just pick four boys or four girls, and they just throw them in a room together. So they can be from any state. So there was one kid from the East Coast. He was from New York or New Jersey. And then his roommates were three guys from the South. We
Mm.
had Texas, Georgia, and I can't remember where the other kid was. I want to say South Carolina. Within 24 hours, catch this, within 24 hours, the kid from the East Coast was using the term y'all. He
Wow.
came out of the leadership session, walked up to a group of kids. I just happened to overhear it. I wish I could do it because it'd be really funny. But with an East Coast accent, he came walking up and go, "Hey, how y'all doing? Where y'all going for lunch?" Right? And they were like, "Oh," and I said, "Wait a minute, did you just say y'all?" He said, "No, I didn't say y'all. I'm from the East Coast." We're like, "Hey, you guys, right?"
Yeah.
And the kids were all like, "You did, you did." And so I said, "Have you ever said that before?" And he said, "No." And then I asked him, I said, "Where are your roommates from?" And he goes, "Oh, they're a bunch of Southern guys."
Yeah.
Within 24 hours, he was using this term. He couldn't believe it. So this is what I said to him. Here's a leadership challenge. Go the entire week and don't say it again. And I threw this challenge out to kids all summer long. If you have a Southern roommate, I want you to go the entire conference, the whole week, without picking up the term y'all. And I didn't have one kid that came to me and said they could do it. It
Wow.
was such a beta test of what happens when you put people that close proximity and how they rub off on each other. So we really need to understand that as adults that are out there trying to live our dreams and create a legacy and have impact, that people that we let in close proximity for periods of time, even short periods, man, they can rub off on us so fast. So what a great question, man. My relationships are very important. I'm very protective of my inner circle. Now, I will interact with anybody, right?
Yeah.
I'll interact with anybody from any walk of life because I believe we're supposed to go out and shift the atmosphere everywhere we go,
Mhm.
bringing hope and passion to any situation. It's groceries at Walmart, getting my hair cut at the gym. I don't care.
Yeah.
I try to go and change things when I walk into a room. But just because I believe I'm bringing the kingdom of God with me, right?
Mhm.
It's not me. It's just I have God with me. That's all. It's nothing about Sean. Sean's just a normal guy figuring it out. So for me, relationships, man, yeah, they are everything.
Mm. Yeah. The impact that I've seen, just you sharing that story. I have a friend that's very into health and fitness. When I go out to eat with him, it the choices that I make based off the menu, based off of being eating with him, are completely different than what I normally would do. I mean,
Right.
he gets a salad, he gets whatever he orders. I find myself ordering similar things and making similar choices. So it is.
Oh, that's
I
so
mean,
good.
the power of influence, and who you surround yourself with. That's. That's
Yeah, and where it ultimately leads to is, one of the things I want to make sure I share today is this. The last several years, probably the last 10 years, a big buzzword in the personal growth, personal development, leadership world
yeah.
was the word authenticity, right?
Hmm.
You got to be authentic. You got to be authentic. Well, this is what I've seen happen. I would say in the last 2 to 3 years, there are a lot of people out there that are very authentic in who they believe themselves to be,
Mm.
but what they're not is believable.
Yeah.
And so I believe we've transitioned from authenticity being what people are looking for to believability is the new human currency in 2024. How believable are we? How believable are we? And I believe that we can take uh, authenticity and influence and blend those together and create influencity, right? By being authentic and influential. But at the end of the day, if you're not believable, then people are going to shy away from you or your business or you, let's say, just as a relationship.
Yeah.
My favorite story about believability in the marketplace is Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A makes a good chicken sandwich, right? But the crazy thing is, you can't go to Chick-fil-A and not wait in line.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? They are out of the top 10 fast food chains. They come in at number 9 in terms of the time it takes to get your food. They're really slow, and
Yeah.
people just don't care
Yeah.
because the culture they have, they're so believable. You're going to go there and just have a great time. And even if they mess your order up, the people are so nice. They just love working there. Why? Because of the culture of believability. As the owner said years ago, he said, "Look, I'm not in the chicken business. I'm in the people business." And he said that we have to create a business that's so believable that people will wait in line to get food that's pretty good. And I
Yeah.
think as human beings, we have to work on our believability, and that comes from removing the mask,
Yeah.
embracing that process of heat, pressure, and time, and letting God grow us into the person He created us to be. And that's when I think life truly becomes powerful and passionate and purposeful, and
Hmm.
we really live the life we've always wanted to experience.
Man, that's some great stuff, Sean. Thank you so much. A couple of more questions before
Sure.
we go. What about right now has you excited about tomorrow?
Well, I can answer that two different ways. I think in the world as a whole, I think what excites me about right now, about tomorrow, is just that I think people are becoming more and more hungry for what's real.
Yeah.
Just what's real. I mean, the church I pastor, we have 11 different denominational backgrounds that have come together to create this church. And they keep saying, we're so real, we're so real, we're so real. We don't play church, we are the church.
Yeah.
We're a church that we show our scars and tell our stories because we don't want to just check the box. We want to really get to know each other and then really become a family that helps each other and grows together. So for me, that's what excites me. I think just people in general are tired of going through the motions. I think they're tired of settling. They just want something that's real and believable. And so I just love being in this time because that's what I'm striving for, in my own life. Now, personally, what excites me about tomorrow is just I think everything that I'm blessed enough to experience in my personal life. I mean, I have an amazing wife. I mean, our marriage gets better all the time. I mean, like anybody else, we have to work at it, but we've committed and chosen to do that. And so, life is good. Got 3 amazing kids that I'm watching grow and learn how to navigate the challenges in life and continue to get closer to God and be more consistent. Our church is growing with amazing people that love the Lord and they want to do, church life different. We call it the Jesus style, really just loving people where they're at and into where they want to be. And as I said, we show scars and tell stories. We don't hide from where we've been, but we actually reveal that so that people know they have hope and they can make it too. And also just the ability to do things like this. Come on and visit with you. And
Mhm.
I'm putting on an event with some friends in November 8th and 9th here in Oklahoma City. And we've got, I think, 9 speakers lined up, some coming in from all over the country. And it's all about how to live in the middle dash, which, that dash between your birth date and your death date. How do we truly live life, not just go through life? So we're going to lock in and focus on how to be in the now, how to live in the now, how to really be intentional and focused and win those moments and not get distracted, but stay locked in and devoted to your life. So I'm super excited to do that. Haven't done that in a while now. So just kind of getting back out there in the marketplace and just sharing with people how to live life in a passionate way. So that's what's getting me up every day, my brother. Keep me fired up and ready to go.
I love it. So how can people get in contact with you?
Just show up at my front door. We've always got food available. No, I'm just letting I'll edit that out. Because you always go, oh, cool, we'll just show up. No, I'm all over social media. I mean, you'll have my name posted.
Yeah.
I'm on Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, all those amazing things. And that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Plus, SeanAbbanatto.com. That's the website, nice and easy. And you can find me at any of those places.
Perfect. I'll make sure to include that when we post this.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you again, Sean. Really enjoyed our conversation. Gosh, I took a couple of pages or a page and a half of notes that I found very helpful to me. So I appreciate you and appreciate just the fact that we got to spend time together.
Well, absolutely, man. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited about this new adventure. I love the concept. I love the title. And you, my brother, are a special human being. I always love to get time with you or see you on our World Checker calls. So, keep dreaming big, keep doing your thing, and let's go change some lives, okay?
All right. God bless and stay great. Hey, thank you for joining us today on Beyond Average to Great. If you enjoyed this episode, the best way to show your appreciation is by subscribing to our show and sharing it on your social media channels. Don't forget to tag me when you do. We'll see you on the next episode. Until then, remember, be great.